Um, okay, are we back live?
Yes.
Okay, John,
Here.
I'm going to skip the pledge because I don't have a flag, and I'm sure most of us don't. Dale? Mark?
Here.
Sean?
Here.
Okay, and just for the meeting, could the rest of the people on here that are attending by phone, please unmute your phones and say your name?
Dale just got on.
Okay, Dale is here.
This is Julie Ferry. I'm on from Nelson Griggs District Health Unit. And I'm on by camera, so.
Jamie Tennyson.
Matt Hogan.
Kelly Vincent.
Wayne Oyen, Griggs County Highway.
Nathan
Derek
Johnson.
Hansen.
Paul Bjornson with KLJ.
Is that everybody?
Madison Wallace.
Okay. Everybody could mute their phones again except for the commissioners and Samantha. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
This is Sean. I move to approve the agenda as presented.
John Wakefield, seconds.
Been moved by Sean, seconded by John to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Or I guess we'll go around. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Aye.
Sean? Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to March 6th and the 18th Commissioners' minutes. Who's making all that noise? Somebody needs to mute their phone.
Whose last two digits are 19?
Me. Mark.
Okay. And then, so I think it's Mark and
Can you hear me without the phone?
I can hear you without the phone.
Okay. So I'm back on. I can hang up on the phone.
No, because then you can't hear us.
Okay.
So it's better if you keep your phone muted until you want to speak. Everybody other than Troy running the meeting.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody right now. But I'm not able to unmute you, so you have to unmute yourself if you want to talk.
Right.
Troy, what are your last two digits of your phone?
It's 9-1, Sam.
Okay, so that's you. Sorry about that. I muted you.
Yep, that's fine. I'll just mute myself when I'm not talking.
Okay.
So we're reviewing the March 6th meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections?
This is Mark. And I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and dispense with the reading.
You got a lot of feedback in this thing. Oh,
Yeah.
Been moved by Mark to approve the minutes from the March 6th meeting. Is there a second to the motion?
This is Dale, I second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh. I guess that works. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to the March 18th board meeting. Are there any additions or corrections?
This is Sean. I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Been moved by Sean to approve the minutes of the March 18th special meeting. Is there a second to the motion?
I second. This is Dale.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John? John? Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
John, did we lose you? Troy votes aye, motion carries. We'll go to approval of the bills, and you'll notice if you're looking at the newest packet that came this afternoon, the bills from March 23rd are the ones that we pre-approved at that special meeting. They weren't in here in the packet we got yesterday. Is that correct, Samantha?
Correct. And the payroll ones as well.
Okay.
John,
didn't
you're
see anything
muted.
there.
I don't know if you know that. Anyway, there is 2 add-on bills if we could. I'll have Maddie unmute herself and talk about those.
Okay.
she's on the phone, I guess, in just a minute. I know that there's one for DNA Mobilities. That's Travis. And it's for 2 headsets for the clerk of court recorder's office so that they're able to get their phone calls from home. It's able to go through their laptops, and also one for the auditor's office. There is there's another one for DNA Mobilities for the upgrading the tax director's laptop that the state attorney's office is going to be utilizing for working from home. We did have that budgeted. We just haven't updated it yet, but now that it's being needed, we're going to update it now. And then it was for IT tech support for Travis, getting everybody up on a VPN and doing all that work. I don't remember how much the total was, so I'll have Maddie, when she gets off the phone, do that. And then there was one for innovations for Kelly's office. Maddie, do you want to give us the total that DNA Mobilities is, and for the innovations, please?
DNA is a total of $1,928.49, and then the Innovative Office Solutions was $90.05.
If you have any other issue or questions on any of the invoices, you can ask those questions, and she can either, if you are on the laptop or whatever and can see, she can hold it up. Otherwise, she can go through and tell you what accounts or anything that those are for. Oops.
Does anybody have any questions on the bills?
Sam, this is Sean. I have one, to Krabanoff Services for $780.56. The account that came out of his weed miscellaneous for office expense.
That was new tires put on the weed truck for the road department.
Oh, okay.
Anybody have anything else?
This is Mark. I'll make a motion. We approve the bills with the addition of the amended bill, or the two omitted.
Been moved by Mark to approve the bills as presented with the addition of the 2 add-on bills.
This is Sean. I'll second.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John? Dale,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Troy votes aye, motion carries.
I just got a text from John. He's okay on his end, but he's gonna try to call back in.
Next is the monthly office reports.
I see John's back in. John, can you unmute yourself?
*6, John.
There you go. Now talk.
Yep.
Yeah,
I was
okay.
using my mute key before and it was working fine. Not sure.
I think Samantha muted everybody, so then you had to do both to get back on.
Bet she's been waiting for 6 years to do that to me.
Finally worked.
Worked pretty well too. Not being able to talk is worse than not being able to breathe sometimes.
I'm sorry.
No, a good one.
Does anybody have any questions on the monthly reports?
This is Sean. I'll move to approve the office reports as presented.
Motion moved by Sean to approve the office reports as presented. Is there a second?
Second by Dale.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy says aye. Motion carries. Next thing on the agenda is the COVID-19. First thing I had is Travis, are you still on here?
No, Travis had
Maybe.
some meetings to do.
Okay. Well, the
Um,
reason I called on him first is because that's the next thing in my packet, but
I actually talked to Travis this morning about it, and Zoom is actually getting investigated by the FBI because of security breaches or something like that. So
yeah, I've been hearing about that.
yeah, so he can't recommend us do the Zoom, but he's looking into other options with this Meet. There's a better version of it that we might be able to do a free trial for like 2 months or so. But he's looking into that. So I'll get back to you guys on what he decides. But it doesn't sound like we're going to have to pay for any services or anything like that. It would just be a free something or other.
Should we authorize something so if he does have to pay, or are we pretty sure that?
He's pretty sure that we can do something, that there's something better, but I mean, it's up to you if you guys want to put some, like, give me authority behind something.
The only reason I say that is because I sure want to have something else in place by our next meeting.
Yeah.
But if he thinks he can get it done without cost, that's fine. And then I think Julie Ferry wanted to speak to us.
Yeah, this is Julie. And again, with Nelson Griggs District Health Unit, it's not so much wanting anything. I don't have any action required, but it was just more or less to update you. And then I believe Derek Hansen is also on the call, so he would follow up with anything else afterwards. I think all of you are aware of how many cases we're getting of COVID-19 across the state. If you follow any of the websites, it says as of today now we're at 173 cases. We do not at this time, which is 2:57, have any cases in Nelson or Griggs, but I would expect that that will happen just because of the way this disease is trending. Couple of things that we're doing is that in getting ready for this, we're making preparation for following up on the case investigations and the contact tracings. And as you can well imagine, for some people that might be several people, for some it might be a few. Some of the reports that we're getting from the cases out of Fargo and Grand Forks are that they have 100 contacts from the person that is being investigated as the source case. And so in that case, it's going to be interesting. I think the average is about 5.7. I think I saw in some report that the average case has 5.7 contacts. And what that means is, again, we go back and follow up with them to make sure they also don't develop symptoms. Some of the things we've been doing in preparation since this has all started is making sure we have the local fire department's information, the rosters, if we would need to put something together quickly for vaccinations, for something else. So gathering some of that contact information. I've been working with law enforcement, the firemen, EMS, social services, emergency managers on making sure we have adequate personal protective equipment. And one of the things that is an issue, unfortunately, is everybody talks about N95 respirator masks. The problem with those masks is that you need to be fit tested in order to ensure your protection. So the next best thing is surgical masks. So we've been ordering those out of the medical cache. The other recommendation that I believe came out yesterday or last night was that even with some of these masks, we're not going to have enough through the whole event, even for our healthcare workers and first responders. So I am working on a protocol to talk over with EMS and law and fire to potentially reuse their masks on calls and trying to get that in place. Acute care facilities and long-term care did get a portion of their PPE, or their personal protective equipment, did get that portion of that from the state medical cache. So again, they also are preparing if they would have to admit anyone. We meet daily as public health units just to make sure we get updates, brainstorm, things like that for the way other situations might occur with this. Some of the other things we've been trying to work on in between is prioritizing the services that we do. There's some services that we just can't say, sorry, not going to do them. And that would be primarily like the home visits to some of our elderly still need home visits. We have been directed by the state. They would like us to keep on with doing immunizations. So again, trying to prioritize some of those services. Not everything that we've been able to work on can be done from home at this point, because we also have some technology issues and trying to figure out how we can best utilize our time and be efficient with this. One of the things that has also come up is that because our time has been so involved with the COVID-19, we are trying to still do some substance abuse and tobacco prevention strategies from our grants, because at this point, there has been no extra COVID monies allocated to the local public health units. It's all being talked about, but it's not any dollar amount or anything. So we are trying to continue with some of those strategies that will bring in some of the grant dollars. With the one of the biggest things I think that is starting to happen, and we are hearing it across the state, is that people aren't taking this seriously, that they still think it's no big deal, it's not any worse than the flu. If you're following any of the news, unfortunately, from other countries and from New York and California, it is a big deal and it does affect people of all ages. And the concern is carrying over to some of the community groups that have read the recommendations, but are still having community gatherings. One of the problems that we have is that those social gatherings of more than 10 people and not more than, not being closer than 6 feet, those are strong recommendations, but there's no enforcement to them. So I realize that law enforcement doesn't have any enforcement powers when there's nothing in there, but that is one thing that we're talking about across the state and trying to figure out what the answers would be with that. We are working with our health officer in trying to get some isolation and quarantine orders in place if need be, and those would only be implemented if we have someone that absolutely is supposed to be staying home for those 14 days or longer, depending on symptoms, and then we hear that they're out and about and continuing to expose people when they're still possibly infectious. The other thing that may come down the pike with this is if there is a need to stand up an EOC or an Emergency Operations Center, I am hoping that it is something that we can do jointly with Nelson and Nelson County, just because of the need to try to keep it all in one place. Obviously, with only 2.8 full-time equivalents, it would be difficult to stand up an emergency operations center in both counties and split my time. So that is one thing I'm looking at down the road. At this point, I don't see a reason to stand up an emergency operations center. I think right now we're handling it by talking to the emergency managers, if not daily, 2 or 3 times a week, and trying to go along that route. So this was intended simply as an update of what public health is doing in response to the COVID-19. I would be happy to try to answer any of your questions, anything that you're hearing, seeing. But again, I would end with please, please, please send the message to the constituents that you have and your friends that this is serious and it will hit our communities sooner than people think, I'm afraid. So I'll mute myself and wait for any questions you might have.
This is John Wakefield. I do have a couple questions. First of all, I understand that, of course, this is serious. I wondered, Julie, when you said that if you have someone that's disobeying the quarantine, what would be the actions and under what protocol would that be allowed? I understand that under martial law or equivalent, that all rights go away, but I was a little concerned that we might be stepping a little too far on civil liberties here without justification, lawful justification to do so. What have you found about that?
Okay, thank you, John. The question about the isolation and quarantine is spelled out in the Century Code, and I will be honest that I have not studied it thoroughly so that I can speak to it from an ABCD. This is what happens, but it is addressed in Century Code. It is not done lightly. It would be similar to something that has happened in the past when we had the tuberculosis outbreak in Grand Forks, and they had to issue isolation and quarantine orders. When that happens, we have to make sure that cares are provided, groceries might be provided, all of that. So it is not done something lightly. There has to be enough evidence that it's putting the general public or putting others at risk, and then creating more disease. So I know that's kind of a roundabout answer, but I can send you out the information on isolation and quarantine if you'd like. The other option is if we don't do it locally, we can also work with the state health officer to help issue those orders. So again, not done lightly. I can guarantee that.
John,
Right,
just
no,
quickly, I think a couple days ago, maybe it was Tuesday or Wednesday, the state health officer did issue an order for people quarantining themselves coming into the state from hot zones, and it is punishable. I don't remember exactly what it's punishable by code. I don't remember what portion of the code it's punishable by, but there is that standing order from the Department of Health. I don't think we need to do anything potentially locally right now. I think there's a standing executive order from the governor's office that outlines that and outlines the punishment.
This is Julie again, and if I could clarify, I'm talking about two separate types of things. What she issued was a confinement for people traveling back from North Dakota. What I'm talking about, and since Sam is on the screen, I'll pick on Sam. Let's say Sam was diagnosed as a positive, was diagnosed positive with having COVID-19. But she's been told to stay home. We check on her daily. Let's say now all of a sudden we can't find her, and we find out that she's at work at the courthouse exposing everybody else. That's the one I'm exploring that hopefully we will not have to use to get Sam to stay at her house because she's exposing. So we're talking two different orders there. I hope that answered it, John.
Yeah, I understand the principles, and hopefully, again, we don't have to use it. I just think sometimes in these circumstances, civil liberties get stretched to the extent where they're almost non-existent, and then that's my worry, that we as a locality try to take some of these things into our own hands. It would be better if it was done on a higher level, the statewide, or somewhere where they have more authority to do that, I would think.
And then did you have another question for me?
No, I think that was it.
Thank you, Julie. Derek, I guess I'm not sure if you wanted to say anything in here.
Yeah, thank you, Troy. I don't really need to be redundant on anything that that Julie has already brought up. Nor if this is a tornado or a chemical or a fire or something, we would be taking the lead on it. But this is a completely different, and so that's why public health has it. And Julie's done a great job with it, and so we're there to support her under the circumstances here. And we have a whole bunch of things that we're working on that are more emergency management and state DES related, while she works on the clear public health things. Many of these things cross over at times. I left a partial list with Troy on some of the stuff that we're working on as well that could come up in the future that we just want to have a little bit of preparedness for. But other than that, unless you have questions, you can always ring the office number because it goes to our phones all the time. And if you have specific stuff for us, let us know, and we'll certainly. There may be a need for additional meetings, the emergency management standpoint, but I'm not seeing that at this point. So we'll just work through them behind the scene. So we'll just let Julie continue to take this, and she'll let us know if she needs help with something, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good, Derek. Thank you.
Troy, this is Julie again. The only thing I wanted to make sure is that all of you do have my cell phone number if you need, because of if something would come up on a Friday night at 9 o'clock, you're not going to be able to reach me through the office phone number. So my cell phone number, which is on 24/7, is 701-230-3219. Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Julie. Wayne, I think you're next.
I do have one other thing, Troy, if I may. Under the COVID-19, I'd like to talk about some laptops, if we could. We're in need of 2 more laptops, one for Patty and one for Maddie. Travis is unable to get any laptops at all that are just new, so he's able to get refurbished ones. And those are going pretty fast too. So if the governor comes back and does a stay-at-home order or anything like that, we don't have enough laptops for everybody to work from home. And Travis would like to, if we're going to get those, we need to order them as soon as possible. I did have him give us a quote on those, and it is hold on one second. I just had the email up here. It would be for $935.20 for 2 refurbished laptops. One would go to the extension agent's office that they have a laptop, but it's Windows 7, and one would go to my office, upgrading Maddie's laptop that was Windows 7. So then these would be Windows 10. So if I could get approval of those, or whatever your guys' thoughts are on those.
Yeah, I think we need to upgrade. Those Windows 7 machines can't even be hooked to the state network anymore.
Right.
Right. I mean, I don't see that we have much choice.
Okay.
What do you fellers think?
I agree. I was still contemplating the extension agent's office, that we don't have an extension agent, but I understand that we do have a part-time person there that fills in with other duties.
Right. She's helping Wayne and Connie. So if she's going to have to do that from home, she'll have to be at least.
And the way I was saying for the county agents, and a lot of stuff isn't coming out of that budget, so we could take the laptop out of that budget. Or we have some more funds in the computer hardware that we've been taking, like new machines out of that.
I'll make a motion, Wakefield, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of the 2 laptops, and we can determine what budgets they come out of when the bills are presented.
Perfect.
Been moved by John to authorize the purchase of 2 laptops. Is there a second to the motion?
This is
Dale. Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Now we move on to Wayne. Wayne, are you there?
He was here just a little bit ago.
Paul?
You guys are both muted, just so you know.
Star 6.
Okay, I'm unmuted now, I think.
I can hear you now,
Oh,
Paul.
yeah.
All right, thanks.
How about now?
Yeah, you're really echoey.
I take my phone away. How about now?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, I turned my speaker down too, but I don't know if that helps.
Sure. In the packet, there's a,
Oh, wow.
I think it comes through my computer now, does it?
I can hear you on the computer.
Okay, I can shut off my phone.
Okay.
Hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect.
You hear me?
Yep.
He can't hear us. That's why he had his phone.
Oh,
Oh.
Oh,
was that Wayne? Wayne, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Well, I guess while Wayne's getting his stuff going, I could start on our end. In the packet on pages 28, 27, and 28, or sorry, 28 and 29, there's the final estimate for Tom Gilbert and Sons for the Hannaford Road project, and then the final review and acceptance for the same project is on page 28. And I guess if everybody's satisfied with the work on those projects on behalf of the contractor, if you go ahead and sign those and date them today, and then I would witness your signature, and that would close that out. Once that bill is paid, which I'm guessing usually ends up happening at the next meeting because it has to be vouchered. After the estimate's approved, then we would prepare the final project certification, which is basically just a cover sheet with all the bills that have been paid that the county could sign at the next cell.
Where are you at? Where are these documents at?
As far as I guess I just got a scan copy from Wayne or from Tom, and I just put a digital signature on them for the progressive estimate. And we normally just send in digital copies to the state as well.
Right, but I'm not going to be able to sign it.
Oh, okay. Are you not able to sign it, print it at home and sign it and get it to Sam somehow?
I don't have a printer.
Okay. Oh, and the courthouse is locked down?
I mean, I can run to town and go to the courthouse and sign.
Okay, yeah, and it's not real pressing, I guess.
Is it at the courthouse? Where is it? That's why I asked where it was.
Well, it's just an email right now.
Oh.
And Tom and his wife had come back from Arizona or whatever. I think their self-quarantine must be just about up now. But they weren't, mailing stuff out either at the time.
Right.
This is John. Why can't you put it at your office into a DocuSign format and send it to Troy? He can DocuSign it and send it back to you.
Yeah, I guess you could just open it up in PDF and do that. That's how I electronic sign stuff.
Yes, if you send it with the DocuSign app, then that's what it's built to do, and then you can just send it back to your office and it's done.
Okay. I'll look into that. I'm not sure I don't have that software, but
I don't know.
Well, the recipient doesn't have to have it.
Gotcha.
if it's sent on DocuSign, then it's self-explanatory to the recipient.
Okay. Well, I can do that either that way or through Adobe. That'd be just those two documents that need signatures. I just sent out that project update to everyone, or to the commissioners and the auditor and the highway superintendent. Anything with a circle by it is stuff that needs to be done by the county. So then the next update would be for the box culvert, northeast Cooperstown, the right-of-way stuff. I talked to Jamie earlier in the week, and they had 3 out of the 4 signatures. Once those are signed fully, then they need to be recorded. And then if you can send PDFs, so those recorded documents to us, we can, and the documentation of the communications back and forth to get those signatures, and we could submit it to the state. We'll package it up and get it to them. The rest of the documents.
Jamie, I'll have Jennifer send that stuff off to you either this afternoon yet or Monday morning.
Oh, did you guys get the 4th signature?
I think we did.
Oh, great. Okay, yeah, if you can get that to us, we'll get it submitted. Let's see, then the Decker Bridge.
We need to consider this final review and acceptance and this progressive estimate, you guys.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Did any of the commissioners want to make a motion to approve the final estimate and the final acceptance to Gilbertson?
This is Sean. I'll make a motion that we approve the final review and acceptance to Gilbertson's for $11,000, $511.45.
Did you also
Moved by Sean. Are you going to include that progressive estimate in that, John? Or Sean,
Yes.
I mean?
Yes.
It's been moved by Sean to approve the final review and acceptance and the progressive estimate presented by KLJ and Tom Gilbertson. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second as Dale.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye, motion carries. Anything else, Paul?
Yeah, I guess I just talked about the box culvert a little bit. We could move on to the Decker Bridge. That alert code 3 annual update. I talked to Brian Fuchs, or in just an email back and forth, and he said that those still are county responsibility, that they still need to inspect those and either close the bridge or fix them or whatever, or just continue to monitor like we have been doing. If the county wishes, KLJ would do that work again for the same price as last year, just an hourly basis up to a cost of $1,500. I can get a task order or a miscellaneous services agreement over to you for the next meeting if that's something you're interested in doing still.
That's every year or every other year?
The alert code 3s are every year.
I see.
The tension beams on the bottom of that bridge are in compression right now, so they're basically flat plates that are bowed way out, and it's reducing the carrying capacity of the bridge. And then I guess on the County Road 3 chip seal from last year, we finished the final records. The last document was submitted March 12th. Final invoice was paid by the DOT already. And then there'll still be some, and we were 6% under the construction engineering contract amount. So we got it done a little quicker than what was contracted. But there'll still be the local match for whatever remaining invoices coming from the DOT. So just so you're aware of those, that those will still be coming. But we're done on our end.
Okay. Do you guys want to have KLJ inspect that bridge?
What are the choices? Does it have to be inspected? Can it be closed? Is it possible to close it? I don't know.
I think that's one of the options possibly, but you'd have to put a hard closure on it. I mean, you'd have barricades across the road. I'm not sure what the specific requirements are, but that was what they talked about at the last county engineers meeting.
I could do some checking, I guess, something that you guys are interested in doing. I could do some checking to see what the statutory requirements are for the next meeting.
But does it need to be closed?
No, it's just load restricted right now.
Right. At least it's of some use.
Correct.
This is Dale.
So-
I'd move we authorize KLJ to do the inspection on the Decker Bridge.
Seconded by John.
Been moved by Dale, seconded by John, that we have KLJ inspect the Decker Bridge. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
Okay, thanks. We'll get that done here before the reporting deadline. I think it's in July, early July.
Okay.
Wayne just messaged me. He said he can hear me, but no one can hear him. I don't know why that is, but one other thing, the DOT emailed us earlier or sent out emails to the counties earlier in the week, looking for potential projects in the case there's a stimulus bill through the federal government for infrastructure, and they asked for a project that they could actually get done this coming construction season for the first round, and then they're also asking for a group of projects that could be done bidding as late as next spring. So the ones that had been talked about before were the 4 chip seals at various locations throughout the county. Here I've got let's see, I can share my screen there. So I've got the chip seal here out to Red Willow, one on 6 miles of county number 2, and then 5 miles on Hannaford.
I can hear the whole meeting, but I can't.
And then
I clicked on the mute thing that was on my.
oh, there you're on now, Wayne.
Talking over us now.
Wayne, we can hear you now if you can hear us.
Yeah, this is through my landline. This is through my landline. Hear me?
Yeah, I just let him know that we can hear him on just texted him.
I had Kelly call him, so he's trying to help him.
Okay. So then the other project we put in, so there's two different options on the County Road 8, going west of Binford, to do a chip seal on that with fog seal, or to do a mill and overlay. And we're assuming that wouldn't go through the grade raise area. I mean, that's probably going to go underwater here this spring. But as far as a project that could actually get done with the environmental restrictions to get it bid this fall, all the environmental documents are due July 10th. So to get that through, about the only thing you can do for project-wise is thin lift overlays and chip seals. Anything that would move in dirt wouldn't be able to get bid at this point this year. I think Wayne had shared that with you guys, what we're planning on sending in, and what he had forwarded on to the state. There's no money identified for any of that yet. We don't know what any of the requirements are going to be, but just so you're aware that that's the projects they're looking at. And then we talked about ones that could be under the second category, which could be bidding as late as next spring. And the one that we thought about for that would be widening on the Red Willow Road is in pretty tough shape when I drove over that. I mean, if there's some federal funds that can help get that back up to where it needs to be, that might be a possible one to submit for that. None of this binds the county to anything yet. It's just potential projects. And then potentially upgrading culverts on that stream over on County 2 for that drainage project. And I think that was about it.
Yeah,
So
I think that was
ideas of
about it.
projects that we should submit.
Yeah, we were wondering if we could submit those last projects by Monday at noon.
Or does anyone
These
have
are
any more
projects-
projects we should add?
I have a lot of feedback when I'm talking, but
These are phase 4 projects, right? The legislation hasn't even been written on this for the funding of this yet, right?
Right.
for the category 2.
And what I think this is
John.
for is probably reporting to our legislators in Congress so that they have an idea what the need is in our state. I'm not 100% sure what else they'd be looking for this for.
So this is just an inventory of things that could be done if there was funds to do it with.
Right.
I mean, you don't need action from us to do this, right?
Right. It doesn't commit the county to anything. I just want to let you know that we're working on it and looking for ideas if you guys have any too.
Sure.
John speaking. I think as long as it's just in the preliminary phases, it won't hurt anything to send in the proposals, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Great. Yes. That would be good.
Okay, sounds good. We'll keep plugging away at it.
All right. Thank you. I think that's all that we have.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, I think, is the soil conservation tax levy. So we got Dennis Haugen, or who's the board member that's gonna talk about this?
This is Nathan Johnson.
You don't have Dennis?
Dennis is not on the board anymore.
Oh, who's on the board?
Oh, we got Matt Hogan, Scott Tramby, David Hines, Mitch Dahl, and Travis Adrian. And I believe Matt is listening on.
So I can give a little background here for this stuff. What had happened was I received the soil conservation's budget, and the first one, and up on the top, if you look on page 34, where it says soil conservation levies a tax of, and then it says $18,750. And then Nate came back and gave me a new one. And I don't know how it happened, but he had given me a new one and corrected it that they wanted to levy $55,000. So when Nate came in, I showed him, the paper that I had levied the $18,000 for him, and then we flipped the page, and then the $55,000 was there. So basically, I talked to the state about what exactly I can do because of this. It was totally my mistake. I had all the information. I just used the wrong sheet. Somehow I didn't throw the old one away. So with that being said, I did talk to the state. They told me to do up a new levy sheet to show you guys, and that it would have to be up to you guys to decide if we can use some funds from the general fund to cover them for the year, and then just they would levy the full next year and pay us back. I did have Jamie looking into that to see what exactly we could do, because this was my mistake. I had all the information. I just used the wrong sheet.
Okay, this is John speaking. I have a few questions for Nate. First of all, was the budget arrived at during a meeting of the directors?
Yes, it was. I have a motion that approved the budget and mill levy increase.
Okay. At the same time, was there notice given and a public meeting scheduled and held to alert the public that you were going to raise the levy more than 10%?
I did publish an ad in the paper, which is the official county paper, which was all I needed to do since I wasn't levying more than $100,000. And I did send that to Jamie this morning to prove that I did. So, and yes, we held the public hearing.
Yeah, those were my questions. Was the protocol followed?
Yes, as far as I am aware.
And I did get that from Nate this morning. This is Jamie. I did get that from Nate this morning, and I do think that they followed the statutes as far as advertising for the meeting. And I didn't look at the specific dates as required by statute, but they did advertise and they did have the meeting for the increased budget. I guess I can speak quickly. I've been doing some research on this. There is an AG opinion out there, and I have not been able to find it. Aaron Burst was supposed to email it to me, but he's been working on some Family Medical Leave Act stuff, so he hasn't had a whole lot of time to work on it. But there is an AG's opinion out there, but there is a section of code under Chapter 57 that does prohibit the increase of any budgets or any levies after October 10th. The only way to get around that would be to be really creative in potentially loaning the money to the NRCS and having them levy next year. I did ask Burst about that and see what he had to say and some guidance from the Association of Counties. And his advice was to wait until next year to levy that tax. He didn't think that it could be done. He said the safe bet is to not do anything and not borrow any money. I don't know what you guys want to do. I know that it probably puts Nate and NRCS in a pickle, not doing anything. But I also don't know what we need to do as far as having people upset with you, or even if there's money in the general fund to spend. I don't know. That would be a question for Sam, I guess.
We do have that reserve fund in there. The only thing is that next year, it's a very hard limit that they are only able to levy 2.5 mils. And if you look at page 32, we're right under that. I mean, when I levied that 55,000 for them, they were at 2.49. So I mean, there's not a whole lot of room for us to loan them money if they're going to want that 55 next year too. So if we're going to loan them money, it would be kind of like a few years or something like that I could see.
So I guess the next question is there what was the huge increase in the funding needed for? Was there an urgent need for that money?
Yeah, there was actually. With the last couple of years, our tree sales have been way down. Also, a couple of our grant assistance programs ran out. So, yeah, as on that one budget form that I gave you guys, we are projecting a deficit of 45,000. So that's why we levied the 55 to try to cover that.
No, the question is, what was the money going to be used for? What were you actually going to purchase with it?
It's not really purchasing anything other than just operating costs of doing our conservation for all the producers in the county, supplying trees, all our other services and whatnot.
So what line item was it attributed to in the budget then?
It was under the amount of income from our levy, I guess, is what it is under. I guess I'm not really sure what you're trying to get at.
Okay, well, the purpose of a budget is to identify costs and then, to the best means possible, try to cover those costs. So if you're just trying to put more money into your budget without identifying the cost that money is going to, that is not the way we do budgeting. We don't put the money into a budget and then find a way to spend it. We identify what needs to be spent and then try to find the funds to cover those expenses.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a specific line item for it.
Okay. So given that, I would make the recommendation that we follow the state's attorney's recommendation to let this go till next year and let the process play out as it's supposed to.
I don't know if Nathan exactly understood your question yet, John, and maybe I can clarify for Nathan too. Nathan, what areas in your budget are increased over last year's? I think that's what John was asking. We know the income was going to come from that mill levy, but what areas in your budget were increased in this year's budget over last year's budget?
Nothing really. We operated at a deficit last year as well. So we're just trying to catch up.
This is Dale. I don't think their budget increased. I think their revenues decreased, and they're trying to make up a shortfall in revenues since some of their grants went away.
Correct.
But guys, we're not supposed to create a surplus in a budget. A budget is strictly for the expenses that you foresee for next year.
There's a motion on the table by John to follow the recommendation of the Attorney General and do nothing. Is there a second to the motion?
This is Sean, I second the motion.
Seconded by Sean. Now we can have discussion.
Nate, I sympathize with your position. I understand what you guys are trying to do. It's just that if we have to do this according to the budget guidelines that have been laid out, and certainly not against any legal opinions, I think we could look at it in the future if Jamie can find an indication that somehow there's precedent for this and there's not Attorney General's opinion against it, then I think we could relook at this.
And I'll continue looking to see if there's any workarounds to do that. I just haven't been able to find anything yet other than the specific instance in code where it just flat out says that you don't get the money if it's not in there by October 10th. And like I said, that's the same advice I had received from the attorney for the Association of Counties, Aaron Burst, as well. I'll continue to research and see if there's a workaround, because I understand the importance of NRCS and I understand the budget constraints. So I'll continue trying to find some way to work around, and I know that it makes it probably I shouldn't say makes it easier, but if all the statutory steps were followed, if there's a way for a workaround, it probably could be doable. I just have to find that.
So you'll notify us, Jamie? You'll notify us, Jamie, if you and bring it back to the commission if that happens? I'll
get in touch. Yep. I'll get in touch with Nathan. I'll get in touch with you guys if I find something that changes the way it works right now. But I just don't know any way to go around doing that, given the constraints that we have. Like I said, I talked to Aaron Burst about it too, and he said he's never heard of anybody getting really fancy to do a workaround. So he advised against it, but I'll continue looking to see if there's a way that we can do it. I know I actually sent an email out to the entire States Attorneys Association, and there was no one that was in 53 counties that was of any help. No one had any advice, so I'll try to keep on working.
It seems to me that the budget constraints I laid out apply to the county commission. We laid out a budget for specific purposes for the county, and where does our responsibility end? I guess is what we need to know here.
Right, and I think, and I never thought about it until just discussing it now. There may be some guidance too in looking at the general fund, the statute for what the general fund covers, or if there's or if there's some way to access the emergency fund or something. But I would guess if it's prohibited, it would be, it may be prohibited by what the general fund covers itself too. So I'll have to go back and take a look at that and see if there's any prohibition of doing anything like that. But as of right now, I haven't found a workaround.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that, Nate.
So I'm looking at this revenue and expense sheet here. There's nothing in the taxes levied space on that sheet. So then you end up with a $35,000 deficit. But that should be whatever 18,750, shouldn't it?
That's correct.
Right. So the deficit, the projected deficit is not a minus $35,786. It's that minus 18,750. So if we were going to do something to help the district, it wouldn't be the $35,000 number anyway.
No, that's correct. Not the way that's written.
It wouldn't have to be. I'm just saying that.
Right.
Right. Okay. Just making sure.
Nathan, have you done
a solution.
Nathan, have you done budget projections? We're in the fourth month, or we've gotten to the first quarter. Have you done budget projections to help us out to know if what you're going to be short and what you really do need?
I haven't yet, but I can work on it.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Nate. We'll be in touch.
I'll keep on looking and see if there's any way that we can get a workaround on it.
And since we did make this mistake, in the past years, we've always just sent out a letter to all the townships and the schools showing them what their mills would be, like what they requested, what got allowed and how many meals that is. With all of this, I'm sending it out to every district because these mistakes terrify me. So I should have been doing this all along, and I'm very sorry to the soil conservation for this.
Okay. The next thing on the agenda is NDSU extension. And as I see it, this is kind of a two-part agenda item. One, as we talked about in the last meeting, I guess, the last meeting that we had face-to-face, I guess. And John and I said it more than once during that meeting that we felt it should go on the ballot for the taxpayers to have something to say about this. And the other is whether or not we ask NDSU for an agent right now and then put it on the ballot or not put it on the ballot. So I guess to start with, maybe we should just talk about whether or not we should ask NDSU to pursue a position right now.
Troy, if I could ask, could we talk about the ballot issue first?
We can.
It seems to me that the ballot issue would be the one, if that would be the issue to talk about. That would be what I'd like to talk about first, if I have my choice.
I guess it doesn't matter to me, John. That's fine.
Because the whole issue of whether we should have a county agent or not is really, in my estimation, should be settled by the people. So we can't have the discussion whether we should hire one or not until we know how we're going to proceed with the main issue of what do the people want done. So I think we should have a ballot issue and keep in mind this is strictly advisory, that we can't. I understand, and Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, that we can only have an advisory ballot here. So we can ask the people whether or not they agree with having a county agent, and we want to put a number in there that will allow for expansion. Let's just say up to 4 mills. And we can have that worded such that people can vote yes, they would like a county agent with the ability to fund it up to 4 mills, or no, they would not. And then that pretty much settles the issue then, other than are we going to hire someone with the hope or not that they continue on. So I think the issues go hand in hand.
If I may speak really quickly, this would putting on the ballot would be an advisory vote, just similar to what you guys did with the old courthouse. You guys aren't bound by it, but it would, I guess, in this situation where there's a dispute with NDSU, I guess it'd speak volumes one way or the other to you guys or to NDSU. So I guess in speaking with John prior to the meeting, I think probably even with the full board at 2 meetings ago, I did draft a potential question that could be asked to the voters. I did send it to John. I actually sent a couple different versions to John. So if he wants to go through those, but as far as the vote, of course it's not something that you guys are bound to because it's just an advisory vote. There is no real process for the commissioners putting something to a vote other than just asking for advisement from the citizens.
So real generally, the advisory vote would ask the citizens again whether or not they were in favor of levying up to 4 mills for a county agent and services in Griggs County. And I think at the same time we should put the value of a mill currently in that ballot language so that people know what 4 mills amounts to. And again, emphasize that it's up to 4 mills, not mandatory 4 mills.
Right, because right now it would probably cost us 2 mills if we hired I guess we already have a support staff, but. Okay, is that a motion?
I would make that a motion.
John has moved that we ask the citizens for an advisory vote on the ballot at the next election. Is there a second to that motion?
Mark, I'll second that.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion?
I have just one more thing. I have just one more thing. I'm not 100% sure that it's 4 mil that can be up to 4 mils. I had Sam look it up for me earlier today, and I think it was 2 mils is what the levy max or levy limit is for or the mill levy is for NDSU extension. And Sam can correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm having Maddie look that up really quick in our levy limitations to make sure what the max is with the levy.
Sure.
Hold on 1 second, please.
Well, we won't go over the maximum.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
so I would amend
make a motion for the maximum.
Yeah, I would amend my motion to state that up to the maximum mills, still leaving the language in there that 1 mill is worth $20,000.
Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second.
Is that Mark?
Yes.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carry, our amendment carries. Now whoa. Is there any discussion on the motion as amended? Is there any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Okay, now if we want to discuss what was tabled at the last board meeting or commissioners meeting, or not the last one, but the one that NDSU was in attendance, was whether or not we give NDSU the go-ahead to hire an agent. Now, we've been asked to reconsider I guess we didn't consider it, we tabled it. You all read in your packets, Matt Haugen prepared some remarks for us, and I had him include those in the packet. I guess, what are your wishes?
I just want to make a note here. Extension services for the mills is 2 mills or up to 4 mills with majority vote.
Right. So then if the maximum is 4 mills.
Yep.
Yep. So that language, the 4 mill language, will stay in there then. That's the way I read it too.
Well, you can just put that language in the deal. 2 mills up to 4 if by majority vote, right? Is it a majority of the commissioners or a majority of the citizens?
That would be a majority
Commissioners.
of
No, that'd be the majority of the commissioners.
I think it's a majority vote as like in an election vote.
I think so too. That would be
okay.
Something similar
Well then,
to the hospital.
okay. Well then, 4 mills is the maximum then, because we're putting it to a majority vote.
But it's an advisory vote, John.
Right.
I don't know how that all works. Sorry.
I guess that's. I was
confused.
confused.
In the situation where it's majority vote of up to 4 mills, then if there's more money needed, the extension agency can use up to 4 mills in the budget. So in this situation, if you ask that question, that does broaden or increase the potential budget by up to 2 mills. But they still have to have the okay of the county commission when doing that budget. What it would do is, in essence,
Jamie, could we do one question as, does the citizens want that? And then if it does go through, then on the next, in November, we ask if they want it up to 4 mills?
No, this is John. The budget is always the determination of the number of the dollar value of the extension agent has always been up to the commission. So if the language is in there up to 4 mills, it stays exactly where it always is unless the commission decides to raise it or lower it. What it would do, John, is it would raise
raise the limit. It would raise the mill limit, but that's still the budget is still controlled by the commission. So that doesn't give someone free rein to have a 4 mil budget. But what it would allow is for the commission to tax up to 4 mils instead of the 2 with that majority opinion.
Correct, but this is an advisory vote, Jamie, so all it's doing is advising the commission whether they think it's possible for us to spend up to 4 mils given 2 mil limit, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah. Because to do it the other way and limit it to 2 mils then would raise more question than giving us the ability to raise it to 4.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
For everyone else's information, what John is saying, we're actually not taking a vote on increasing it up to 4 mils. It's just the advisory opinion if they want an extension agent, giving at some point the commission the power to tax or ask that question if they want to spend up to 4 mils in some future ballot, if I'm clear.
Okay. Do you guys want to request the extension service to hire a full-time agent at this time or not?
This is Mark.
Well, we should talk.
I'll make the motion that we instruct NDSU to look for a full-time agent.
Been moved by Mark that we instruct NDSU to begin looking for a full-time agent. Is there a second?
I'll second that, John.
Seconded by John. Is there any discussion?
Yes, there is now. So I want to ask the question in a Mark of the group. If we get a full-time agent, is that going to and we have a no vote from the advisory vote, how is that going to influence our decision then? Are we going to now follow the advisory vote, or are we going to go against the advisory vote and keep the agent? If we have one by June 2nd, that's the other question, of course.
Well, I think as Troy said before, we're not king. If the people vote that they don't want extension, I would suppose it'd have to go away.
You know, that's only 2 months away, and given what we've got going on with coronavirus, I don't really know how we would even conduct in-person interviews, to be honest with you, or if they would want to conduct in-person interviews. So it may actually be
Jamie, that's up to them. That's NDSU's problem, not ours. That's not in the mute your phone, Jamie. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean? Did we lose you?
Aye.
Troy votes no, motion carries. (2020) primary election?
Okay, so I don't know if you guys have been listening to Governor Burgum's briefings every day, but he did go with the recommendation that we do absentee ballots throughout the state. We already do absentee ballots, so that's a great thing. But he also did away with the law that we have to have a one polling site per county. But it's up to you guys if you guys would like to do away with the one polling site or if you want to keep it. Some of the things that we've talked about within the auditors is that the majority of our poll workers are of the group that we're trying to be protecting with the coronavirus. And having a lot of people, come into the courthouse if it's on lockdown, it kind of defeats the purpose of being on lockdown. So what I would do is I would put our ballot box out in the entryway. People can come in. That's a secure ballot box. It doesn't have to be chained to a wall or anything like that. I mean, it's locked. Nobody can get into it. It's a secure ballot box. So people can either mail them in or place them in the ballot box. And then my concern with this was that it was on election day. There wouldn't be a polling site, and all absentee ballots have to be postmarked the day before election. So then that would mean that nobody would be able to vote on election day. We did get clarification on that the law actually says that our ballot box is to be put out until 4:30 on election day. So people would still be able to cast their ballot up until 4:30 that day. So it's just if you guys would like to do away with it and just do 100% absentees, or if you still want to have that polling site, that's totally up to you. I recommend that we do away with the polling site. It would, for one, save the county some money with election workers and stuff like that. If I could just get, a few people in the courthouse that are already coming to work, that would be best. I haven't asked any of the employees yet, but just kind of a thought that I was having. But I wanted to get your guys' take on it first.
So these are this is John. So these are extraordinary circumstances. And I agree that we have to give everybody the chance to vote. I am concerned that it becomes the norm. And the concern, it seems like a small item that you get the chance to vote by mail. But it really is not. The sanctity of the ballot box is not protected when you vote by mail. When you walk into the ballot box and close the curtain, there is no one there to influence your decision. The minute you vote by mail, the possibilities are endless that someone is there to influence your decision, or maybe even fill out the ballot for you. So there's again, it seems like a trivial matter, but in actuality, it's not. And fine, let's do it for this time, but let's never get to a point where this becomes the norm, because we lose all the individuality that's supposed to be protected by one person, one vote.
No, I 100% agree with you. And me and another auditor were pretty concerned about the 4:30 deadline on election day, because usually they would have until 7 o'clock to place their ballot in that ballot box. We've talked to the auditor group, and I mean, me and another auditor have gotten screamed at by the majority of them because they don't agree that we should extend that time. But I would like to have it past 4:30, but there's nothing in there. If we do the absentees, we would have to take the ballot box away at 4:30. That's the one part that I'm not comfortable with, but
Who made that decision, Samantha?
It's in Governor Burgum's executive.
Directive? Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So do we need action to do that, or is that what you're gonna, or are you just keeping us in the loop?
No, I actually need you guys to make a motion to go vote by mail for the primary, if that's what you guys would like to do. But it's only for the primary. We're not looking at it for November at this point.
Well, we always have vote by mail, don't we?
Right, but you just have to make a motion that we're doing away with the polling site.
The polling site, right? Okay.
This is Mark. Is that something we have to make a decision on today? Or,
It's beneficial if we do, because I'm in the process of ordering our media for our equipment. But they're in this executive order. There is nowhere that you guys have of a date that you guys have to make this decision by. It's just for my part of it, it's easier if we just decide now so that I can either order the media or not order the media.
Samantha, are there any counties that are going to keep their polling spots?
It doesn't sound like it at this point of the conversations that I've had with the other auditors. The only thing is that those counties that have tribal land, they might have to have that, since they've got different government, they might have to have a polling site in the tribal land if they want it. But at this point, none of the other counties are having another polling site.
If we waited another 2 weeks, would it put you in a jam? I mean, the only reason that I'm hesitant because June 6th is quite a ways away.
Yeah. I can put it on hold for another 2 weeks if that's what you want. But that June 6th is the date that I order ballots and I get stuff going. But I can have them put a hold on our media if you'd like me to do that.
This is John. One observation. We all hope and pray that the disease has passed by then, and that's a possibility. It's an improbability that the stigma and the precautions that are brought on by the disease are going to be gone by then. So I think no matter what, we're still going to be faced with the same question. Are we risking infecting somebody by bringing them to a polling station?
Okay. Do you want to rephrase that in the form of a motion, John?
No, I was just making a statement. just clarifying some facts.
No, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. So whether we do it now or wait 2 weeks, I don't think we're going to have any clearer picture in 2 weeks of what the ultimate environment is going to be come June 2nd.
You're probably right.
this is Mark. I'll make a motion that we close the polling place for the primary.
It's been moved by Mark that we close the polling place for the primary. Is there a second to that motion?
This is Dale, I'll second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
No.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
One other issue, if I may, on that election deal. Can we, In the past, we have had pay for the election workers at $10 an hour and $10.75 for the inspector. Just wondering if we could raise that this year. We do have new equipment, so the poll workers are going to have to get to know that. We're talking to a lot of the other counties. They've done anywhere from $15 an hour to $12 was the lowest that I seen or that I heard. Just wondering if we could up that a little bit.
What's your recommendation, Samantha?
Some of the other counties, when they did like 15, they didn't supply meals or any snacks. Here in Griggs County, we have usually provided the meals and a few things for snacks. So I would think like maybe 12, if we could do that. $12 for the clerks and the judges, and like $12.75 for the inspector. And then another issue would be if we could get the approval of the commission to provide meals as well for the elections as well.
Anybody have any thoughts?
This is Mark. Was that 12 was your recommendation then, Sam?
12 for the clerks and the judges and $12.75 for the inspector.
I'll make the motion, then we go forward with Sam's recommendation.
Sean, I second.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Any discussion?
This is John again. This is for the discussion part of it, not preferencing which way I want it, but we certainly have come a long ways in our society. Elections were originally, it was considered a civic duty, responsibility to participate and to run elections. And I think it's harmful if we get to the point where the only way you get people to participate is by paying them. That's all I have to say on that.
One thing that we have found that it gets pretty hard to find election workers if one of them quits or doesn't want to do it for a year. It does get kind of challenging, and elections. I couldn't do an election without my election workers, so this was kind of a way to just show them that we do appreciate all their hard work, and because it is a lot of hard work that they have to do.
Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye, motion carries. Okay, is there anything else for the election, Samantha?
Nope, that's all I had.
Okay. Next thing on the agenda is a Red Willow Ministries raffle permit.
As Dale, I move to approve the Willow Ministries raffle permit.
It's been moved by
This is
Dale
Mark.
to
I'll second
approve
that.
moved by Dale, seconded by Mark, that we approve the Red Willow Ministries raffle permit. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye, motion carries. 2020 primary ballot measures.
If you guys want anything else on the ballot, I do have the wording by Monday at 4 o'clock. So at this time, I'm just going to have Jamie get me the wording for that extension one. But if there was anything else that you guys wanted on there.
Okay, anything else for the ballot measures? Okay. Old courthouse, new courthouse.
Hey, Troy, this is Sean. Could we go back to the extension for a second?
Okay.
Okay. I was just gonna make a suggestion that I know the extension had told me one other time that we are able to request certain things of agents when we're looking for them. So I think perhaps maybe a couple things we should look for. Obviously, we want one that has a strong 4-H background, which all extension agents do. And I just think maybe the other thing we should look at is maybe looking for an agent that's got prior experience, perhaps 3 to 5 years as an agent. Any thoughts?
This is John. That sounds reasonable to me, Sean.
If we're gonna go through the process, we should have some say what we want. And I remember Kim had told us one time we have that right to make a request when we're looking for an agent.
It seems like from our last meeting with NDSU, we did have some say over it, and it was, do you want an agent, yes or no, and that was it.
Right. But if we're gonna go down that road, why don't we get what we want? You know, if we obviously all want somebody that's got a strong 4-H background, and why not try to find an agent that's already got some experience? Whatever.
I agree. I agree. Sean, are you going to be the point man on this then?
I can call. She's our contact now, right?
I would be in favor of that if the other commissioners are.
Yeah, I think, Sean, this is Mark. I believe you were before trying to help us through this process. So that sounds like a great idea to me.
Okay.
Would we need to make that a motion?
Well, I think we already, well, perhaps, I guess. What do you guys think? Like 3 years experience or 5 years experience as an agent, or? I mean, we can request whatever we wish.
Well, could we make a request and the interview process is still the point where we can say nay or yes or no.
Correct.
If we just say 5 years experience, then they're probably going to only bring us somebody that has 5 years experience or more. Maybe we should leave it open, but give it the caveat that we will have final say whether or not the agent that's brought to us for consideration is acceptable.
I think if we're already going through the process, it'd be nice to get one that had some experience already.
I agree. I'm fine with that. What's your recommendation, Sean?
I would like to do a minimum of that with 3 years of experience and then a strong 4-H background, since, you know, that's our primary goal anyway, so.
I would make the motion that we adopt Sean's recommendation of 3 to 5 years experience and strong 4-H background as a prerequisite to hiring an agent.
This is Mark again. I believe you're talking about minimum standards, aren't you, John?
Correct.
This is Mark. I'll second that motion.
It's been moved by John, seconded by Mark, that we adopt Sean's recommendation on hiring an agent with 3 to 5 years of experience and a strong 4-H background. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
Yes, I would further recommend that Sean be the point man on this also. Not as an amendment to the motion, but just as a recommendation.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Dale, I got mixed up.
Yeah, I get a chance. Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
All right, I'll get a hold of Rita next week then.
Samantha, did you forward that contact information to Sean?
Yeah, I think I got the email, so I can.
Okay, I didn't look at who got it. So.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Now we're back to old courthouse, new courthouse.
I did send out an email to all of the department heads on any like property that they would like to put on an auction. And I haven't received a whole lot back. So I think we should just talk about that at a next meeting.
Okay.
This is Mark again. I can give a little update on the chandelier. It's being cleaned, and if it needs to, it'll be repainted.
Who took that project on?
The museum members are stepping forward and doing it. They were given orders by the State Historical Society on how to do it and what they had to do. A lot of it's being done with a toothbrush.
Oh boy. Future business?
The only future business I can think of is getting some way to conduct this meeting that's a little more user friendly.
Yep, I'll be working with Travis on that.
Okay.
It wasn't as horrible as I thought it might be.
Maybe we can do it outside, stand 6 feet apart.
Yeah, it won't be too much longer. We can meet out in the lawn, I suppose.
Well, I don't mind doing it this way. It's fine. I don't want a video. I don't want video part of it, but doing it this way is fine.
I like that I'm able to mute you, John.
Yeah, well, enjoy it.
I'm just kidding.
Because unless the world ends, I will return. And you know what happens when you get deprived of something for a long time, then you just all the more of it. And I've been deprived of talking.
Thanks for
I
the
would
warning.
make a motion. I would make a motion. We adjourn.
Been moved by John that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second by Dale.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, John,
Aye.
Dale,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
motion carries. Meeting adjourned at 4:37 p.m. Next regular meeting will be on April 17th at 2:30 p.m. and hopefully we'll have a different venue.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Thank you, Samantha.
See you guys. Yep. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you,
Bye now.
guys.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Ben.